this video, we're going to have a look at some practice questions, some 4 and 5 mark exam questions from the unit Living the Christian Life. So make sure you've got a pen and book or paper ready, because the more active that you do this, the better it will be, the more you'll be able to retain the information, and the better practice, the better prepared you will be for the exam. So as always, I'm going to give you some content for each of these questions, and one of the things we want to do is, as well as revise the content, is to think about the structure of how we produce good exam answers. So these are the questions coming up, a mixture of 4 mark and 5 mark questions. As I say, have your pen and paper ready so that you can do the practice as we go along. Okay, here's the first one, a 4 marker. So read the question carefully, read the first bullet point, and have a go yourself at transforming that into the RS mantra. So pause the video and have a go yourself. Okay, the way I would do the first bullet point would go something like this. One reason why Christians might choose to take part in liturgical worship is that they might find the repetitive nature of liturgical worship comforting. This is because they will know how they should pray. Just compare that with what you've written. And maybe adapt yours a little bit, then pause the video again. Make sure you do this with each question and have a go at the second point. So you need 2 reasons, so pause the video again and use the one of the other bullet points and transform that. Make sure you do that with each of these questions so that you're writing a complete answer for each one. Okay, read this question nice and carefully, another 4 marker. Have a look at the first bullet point, pause the video and write out your first point with the development using that first bullet point and the structure provided. So pause the video. Okay, the way I would do that first bullet point would go something like this. One way Advent is celebrated by Christians is that they may count down the coming of Jesus at Christmas. For example, they may light candles on an Advent wreath every week. Okay, pause the video again and make sure you add a second point using one of the other bullet points. So pause the video and complete the question. Once again, read the question. You're going to use the question in your answer as I've shown you in the first 2. So pause the video, have a read through and have a go at using the first bullet point. Okay, here's how I would convert that first bullet point. One reason places of pilgrimage are important for Christians is that they may learn more about their faith. For example, by visiting Jerusalem, they may learn more about Jesus' death. Okay, now we're going to look at some 5 markers. Now, I always recommend that you put the quote, so the source of wisdom and authority, put the quote in the middle. So you give the point, then the quote, and then you can explain the quote. Don't just tag the quote on at the end. So there's a little bit more work to do on this one. Again, notice where the quote comes from. I've just put the Bible says, but not all sources of wisdom are from the Bible. So you may need to adapt a little bit. So have a look at the first bullet point, read the question carefully, and have a go at transforming that yourself into the structure that I've provided. Okay, so the way I would do this would go like this. One reason why Christians celebrate the Eucharist is because many Christians regard the Eucharist as a sacrament. In the 39 Articles of the Church of England, it says, "It is a sacrament of our redemption through Christ's death." This means it is a way Christians can receive grace from God. Another 5 marker, so read the question carefully. Have a look at the first bullet point, pause the video and try yourself to write that out using the structure provided. Okay, so the way I would transform this into the RS mantra would go like this. One reason why Christians might say the Lord's Prayer is because it was taught by Jesus. When his disciples asked how to pray, Jesus said, "This then is how you should pray." This means the Lord's Prayer is the best way to pray to the Father. Okay, so again, I've developed that a little bit, and you can see as I've instructed you, put the quote in the middle. So always try and do that. Okay, and a final 5 marker. Again, read the question carefully. Look at the first bullet point and pause the video here so you can transform that yourself before you have a go at the other bullet points. So the way I would do the first bullet point would go something like this. One reason why the worshippers in a church community should evangelize in the local area is because some Christians believe that preaching to others is an essential part of being a Christian. Jesus told his disciples to go into the world and preach the gospel to all creation. This shows that it is required in the Bible to spread the faith. So you might want to just compare that with what you've written. Don't forget to pause the video again and have a go at filling out the second reason using one of the other bullet points. I hope that's been helpful. The more you practice, the better you'll get at this, the more natural it will become, and you'll be able to adapt the sentence starters more appropriately for each question. I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for listening.